powered by Riverside.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Live on the Dugout Dads local sports podcast, where our skills are questionable,
but our spirit is unstoppable.
I'm your host, Michael Hughes, with my co-host,
Jonathan Parker.
Once again, we'd like to welcome everyone to our second episode of the local sports podcast, the Dugout Dads, where this week we're going to talk about this past week's matchup between the Smith County Owls and the Gornsville Tigers.
Yes, and what an atmosphere it was Friday night. It was such a great to see the stands full. Yes. Football weather is back, and football time is back.
Football time is back, and, you know, this is the best time of the year, if you want my opinion, Jonathan, where it is local high school sports. You know, college football kicks up next week. But what an atmosphere we had this past Friday night over in Carthage on the campus of Smith County High School between the Owls and the Tigers. And if you want to go into, you know, a recap of our local scores first, we'll do some local scores of interest first, and then we'll get started on the recap of the Tigers and the Owls.
Absolutely. So some scores from around the area. We had Macon County with a big 31-7 win over Westmoreland. Upperman beat Fayetteville 48-6. Murfreesboro Oakland shut out Independence 35-0. East Robertson with a big 30-0 shutout over Liberty Creek. Jackson County with a 28-14 win over Clinton County, Kentucky. Antioch defeated Lebanon 34-22. Monterey over Cannon County 21-7. Clay County in what seemed to be a very good ball game over a good York team 42-30. Red Bowling Springs with a big shutout over Sunbright 53-0. Livingston over Trousdale 37-6. DeKalb County with a big win over Warren County 28-14. White House Heritage with a big opening win over Harpeth 41-25. Riverdale over Smyrna 24-14. And, of course, the game that you and I were both at, and I think most of Smith County was, the Gornsville Tigers beat Smith County 20-6. And from my vantage point, it was just such a great atmosphere. The field looked great. You know, both stands were full. Kids were running around. Families were laughing together, and it was just a great ball game to kick off opening week of high school football.
It was a electric atmosphere. You know, we've been going to this game for 30 plus years now. You know, since I remember it from when I was a kid. But last Friday night's matchup was probably the most attended that I've seen in the past few years. You know, you talk about it, and I was talking about it with Anthony Jenkins, who was up in the booth with me as we was doing the Jumbotron, is you look around the fence line. You know, in past years, the fence line wasn't packed like it was last year. And the fence line, everybody was around the fence. The stands were packed. Even the concrete section down where the band used to sit was packed with people. And in my opinion, you don't get a much better atmosphere than small town, local high school football.
No, you do not. And the student sections on both sides were lively. You know, the cheerleaders, and then, you know, they were there and cheering on both teams. And both teams really treated us to a very, very good ball game, a very evenly matched ball game. I mean, you look at some of the stats. Gornsville had 245 yards. Smith County had 221. You know, first down, Smith County had 14. Gornsville had 13. You know, and like we talked about last week, it was going to come down to who made those one or two big plays. And Maddox Randolph with a huge 83-yard interception to pretty much seal the game. And what a great play that he made, and a great run to score on.
Yeah, and you look at it, and we talked about it earlier last week in our last episode that, you know, Gornsville's upfront presence on defense would probably make a big impact on this game, and it did turn into that. It turned into where, you know, they was putting pressure on Riley when he was you know, breaking the pocket to throw the ball, and, you know, Smith County's run game was almost non-present at all. You know, Gornsville kind of stiffened their up front, and Smith County just couldn't run the ball on anyone or on Gornsville that night. And, you know, we talked about that last week, and I thought the matchup would be up front, Smith County versus Gornsville, and I feel like Gornsville won that matchup come Friday night.
Yes, the two games that I've watched Gordonsville, the defense has really stood out to me. And I'm going to give a shout out to Mason Cross in place of Jay Foster. He managed the game well and played a great ball game at the quarterback position. And Bryson Grissom had 25 carries for 169 yards and a touchdown. So between Maddox and Bryson, they had a really, really good effort on Friday night.
Yeah, and Coach Jackson, he had his team prepared, right? You could tell. You heard some interviews after the game where they did a lot of film study on what Smith County does in certain situations, and when Smith County did that, they made the play that kind of sealed the game for them. Smith County goes up 6-0 at halftime. They drive it down the field 97 yards after a Gordonsville turnover down on the 3-yard line. They drive it. They go up 6-0 at the half, and then you come back out in the second half where Gordonsville starts with the possession of the ball and drives it right down the field and scores. And then you look at it, Coach Jackson's defense had that bend but not break mentality because Smith County had a few drives. They had a couple opportunities to score some points, but Gordonsville held them out of the end zone.
And Michael, you touched on a point there, and I'm just left scratching my head. Back in the day when I was growing up watching a lot of football, you got on the I formation in short yardage, and you just hammered it home. If you needed a yard, you got that. And now it's being taught that when it's 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, we're still taking that snap from shotgun. And to me, I would love to see an analysis of where has that gone? How has that level of play is those play calling? Is it that detriment that a quarterback can't just get up under center and take the snap and get a yard?
Yeah, it's not really taught anymore. Everything's your spread formation, and you're trying to go fast. But I look at it, and I was talking to Anthony while he was in the booth, and you look at Smith County had a 4th and 1, right? And my first comment was, you got a 6'4" quarterback, put him under center, get that yard right there. And we got the first down, yet it was, it took a little bit extra to get that first down because it takes 3 yards instead of 1 yard.
Right.
Yeah. But overall, like I said, Gordonsville really come out in the second half and made some adjustments that slowed down Smith County's run game. Now, Smith County's pass game was very prevalent, right? I felt like Riley threw the ball really well. The receivers caught the ball. Now, they did have a couple of drops there that might have hurt them late that would give them a big gain, or even one could have been a touchdown. Right. But up front, when it came to the pass game, Smith County had Gordonsville out. They had some early pressure on Riley. But he did throw the ball well in the second half and slung the ball around the yard a little bit. And I really felt like Smith County might have went back that a little bit more, but they did try to bring the run game in there, and it might have hurt them a little bit. I don't know. It's just whatever the coaching staff thought there in that time. But just outsider looking in, I felt the pass game was there all night long.
Yes, that's what it seemed like to me. I mean, again, it was the one mistake, and outside of that, Riley played a great – I believe he was 18 of 30.
I think he was 18 of 28.
18 of 28.
Yeah, for 131.
Yeah. So the passes were there. And again, that 18 of 28, there was a couple of big drops in there that could have flipped the script a little bit.
It could. Like I said, when Smith County goes into the half leading 6-0, and in the first quarter had a couple opportunities to actually get a long play that Wyatt Clay will just drop the pass there. Maybe just took his eyes off of it, trying to run before he called it, but he catches that pass. And then you look at Smith County's second touchdown in the second quarter, they're up 13 or 14-0 going into the half. So it's a completely different ball game. Now, like I said, credits to Coach Jackson and their guys for the adjustments they made at halftime to get their lead back and keep that lead for the rest of the game.
Yes. But all in all, I think they both have a lot to look forward to. They got a lot to, there were some sloppy penalties, sloppy drops, and those things are going to get fixed. The more reps you get, that's going to fix itself out.
It is. And you look at you moving forward, we're going to move past this game, moving forward up next for the Owls. We got DeKalb County coming into Owl Stadium next week. I've watched a little bit of film of DeKalb. They had a great win over, I think you said Warren County last week.
Yes.
Looked like a pretty easy win in my opinion for DeKalb. Last year's game in DeKalb was a great game. To come down to a fourth quarter game once again. And, I think you always look at your biggest improvements will go from week 1 to week 2. So you'll see what kind of, offense and defense Smith County brings to the game this week against DeKalb.
Yes. And I watched a little bit of their game in the Jamboree. Of course, I know it's vanilla and a lot of stuff, but DeKalb impressed me with their size and the number of kids that they have. Just to just going to be a big matchup this coming Friday night, and look for everybody to come out and support the Owls and support the Tigers who go to play Watertown this week.
Yeah, and the Gordonsville Watertown is almost probably as big as rivalry as the Smith County Gordonsville game. Watertown, for me being a former Gordonsville Tiger who went to play the Watertown Tigers, that's a pretty big rivalry game there too. So, Gordonsville goes over once again out of district or out of region again, playing 2A Smith County this week, 3A Watertown next week. So that's great, two great matchups for Gordonsville in week 1 and week 2.
Yes, and Smith County impressively beat Watertown in the Jamboree, and Watertown looked big and physical. And but I think Watertown's going to have their hands full Friday night with the speed off the ball that Gordonsville has, and the couple of big playmakers that they have.
And another big question: Does Jay Foster play next week? We still don't know. I was told he had a hamstring injury. Maybe it was what's slowing him down a little bit. It was coach's decision for him not to play this week. So if Jay Foster plays, even though Mason Cross did a great job, he did a great job of managing the offense this week. And you never know, right? Jay Foster could be back next week. We don't know.
Yes.
So we're going to transition now. We're going to let in our first guest of the Dugout Dad's Local Sports Podcast, and that will be Smith County middle school head coach, football head coach, David Reed. David, welcome to our podcast.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, David.
So we're going to transition just to moving over to our Dugout Dads podcast, where we're going to talk about the middle school. We're going to bring on all these guests that come in. We want to really highlight everything outside of high school, right? So we want to talk about our middle school programs. Our middle school program is our feeder program to Smith County High School, right? And David's been the head coach now for 3 years. He's been a part of the youth league for probably 25 years. He's been a coach for a long time. David, if you don't care, we want you to give a little insight to your team, talk about some of your key players, and then how your seasons went this season so far.
Right now we're 2-2. We got, we're a fairly young team. We got 15 7th graders and 9 8th graders. The key players on our team, we go how our line goes. We got our 8th graders on the line, Brody Chilton, Lawson Foster, Keaton Crawford, and tight end Jackson Langford. They're kind of our team leaders. When they have a good night, we typically have a good night. And of course, Hughes, you know me, I want to chuck the ball around everywhere, but when it comes down to it, if you want to be positive on offense, you got to get them dudes up front blocking good. And when they have a good night, we typically have a good night.
Yep. And Jonathan, I think you had a couple questions for Coach Reed as well.
Yes, I do. So, David, I know the playoffs are coming. They're coming soon. And what will it take to get this team to the playoffs and maybe go even further?
It'll take a lot of hard work. The kids are going to have to just keep believing and keep fighting every rep in practice and every snap during the game. And they're going to have to keep on grinding it out because the games don't get any easier at this point. They're just going to keep getting harder.
And I believe Thursday it's at Macon County, correct?
It's at Macon County. Of course, for us to solidify our place in the playoffs, we have to win the next 3 games. And, of course, the hardest part about that is you got to go play Macon County, who Coach Robertson, with his junior high program, he does a tremendous job. Of course, Cody Jett, who's now at Smith County High School, used to run the middle school program up there, and they just kept it rolling since Jett's been here at Smith County High School. They just kept it rolling. They just look like a well-oiled machine on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and you look at our season, I say our season because I am a coach with Coach Reed on the middle school team. But you look at our season so far, we're 2-2. We've lost to 2 very good teams in Gordonsville and DeKalb. Yet we look at our wins against a Stone Memorial team, but we actually had a big win over a really great White County football team. We just talk about that win just a little bit if we could.
Well, as Coach Hughes well knows, I challenge our kids every day that week just to keep on fighting. That they're going to be in a heavyweight fight, and if they blink first, they're going to get knocked out. But we found our kids found a way to just keep on keeping on, and eventually they're halfway through the third quarter. I think we found ourselves up 10 points, and on the headset, I said to all the coaches, like, how do we get here? How do we get here? How do we stay here?
Yeah.
But it was a great team win. Everybody played their tails off for us, and can't be more proud of those guys for that win. But we just got to keep it rolling now. We're going to try to make the playoffs.
We look at our upcoming schedule we got for the rest of the year. Like I said, we go to Macon County next week, and then we finish out the season with 2 straight home games. And talk about a little bit. I think one night is 8th grade night, and one night's homecoming, or is that the same night? Can you just talk about that just a little bit?
I think from the last email I got, I think they're going to do it all on the same night. But I'd have to go back and look at my email to be sure. But that'd be pretty cool. Getting to play at home would be pretty cool. With us having to start the season with 5 road games, playing at home will be great for our kids.
Yeah, and it'd be something different for these guys. You know, we've been on a school bus 5 straight weeks. We took a bus out 4 straight weeks. We didn't take one to Gornsville, but 4 straight weeks on a school bus, and now we get to come back home to finish out the regular season. And hopefully, we're in the position where we can make those playoffs. And you know, talking about just a little bit more in depth, since we got a few more minutes here about the team in general. Like you said, we're 7th grade heavy, right? You got a really young 7th grade team, and you know, and you being a coach for as long as you've been a coach for, just talk about a little bit what it takes to get those 7th graders in the middle school mindset coming from youth league, where you know they're all the best on the team. Most of your guys on the youth league team that come up, they're the best on the team. But now you move to middle school, you're playing guys that are just as good or even better than you are.
Yeah, it's not easy. Of course, in middle school, we only have 2 years with them. But when they come in as 7th graders, especially kids that have never ran the same type of offense that we run or the same type of defense we run, it really takes a lot of buy-in from those guys. They really have to want to and really have to believe in what we're doing for it to be a success with such a short turnaround. Because, like I said, we've only got 2 years before they're going up to the high school. But it's challenging. Now, we got a lot of young playmakers that do a lot of great things when we can get the ball in their hands. But it's all about, in my opinion, it's all about the buy-in and believing in what they're doing and just the day-to-day process of coming together and getting better as a team.
And it looks like, you know, as we go through, and, you know, these guys are they look like they're trying to grasp on what we've been teaching. And I say we, once again, because I am a coach, we've been teaching for the last 6, 7, 8 weeks, you know, trying to get these guys' mindset on where we want to go and what we're trying to do. And we finally maybe look like, especially against White County, that you could see that we actually maybe got over that hump just a little bit. And then we go into cab and we have a few setbacks. But, you know, we're trying to get that. And you do a great job of getting these kids where they're supposed to be and, you know, what kind of offense, what kind of defense we're trying to run. You know, so kudos to you for what you've done and how long you've coached and what we got going with our middle school program, who, like we just talked about, is a feeder into our high school program.
Yeah, I think I will say that I think our bad night at DeKalb had a lot more to do with them and Coach Poteet and the players that he has this year than it had to do with anything about what we did.
Jonathan, you was there. You saw that game too. You know, we might have been a little outmanned against DeKalb, and those guys were just, you know, really aggressive guys. And, you know, it's just something that some of our guys have never, and it's good for them to get it early, right? We want to get it early. Maybe that helps us on down the line.
Well, and from my perspective, yes, DeKalb played a well of a ball game Tuesday night, and they were bigger. They were the more physical team, of course. But I saw a lot of positive things from our side as well. You know, we've got some skill players that can make plays, and I think that the kids just need to hold their head high and, you know, next game up, you know, let's just scratch that and let's move on to the next game.
That's exactly right. You know, it's fun to win. When you're winning, everybody knows to smile. But when you get taken behind the woodshed a little bit, that's you'll learn a lot more about yourself as a team in those situations than you can. Everybody knows to smile when you win. You know, it's just one of those things I've always said. But you'll learn more about yourself in losses sometimes than you can when you win. You don't like to lose a lot, so you don't really want to be learning all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Well, Coach Reed, we appreciate you coming on for the second episode of this, man. We hope to have you back, you know, as your season progresses. We hope to see you here again, you know, a couple weeks and say, hey, we're in the playoffs. Let's go play for a championship. Once again, we appreciate you coming on and talking middle school sports with us.
Absolutely, David. Thanks for coming on, and good luck on the rest of the season.
Appreciate y'all having me on. I appreciate y'all putting the spotlight on these young athletes in this area.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Have a good one.
All right, folks, that was head football coach for our Smith County Middle School, David Reed. Just talking a little bit, David's he's been a long time coach here in this community. He's coached, 20 years in the youthful program, and then he comes up, takes over the middle school reins for Carson Hackett, who left a few years ago. Coach Reed does a great job with the kids, and the kids love him. And, stability. We talk about stability a lot, and having stability in the program with Coach Reed makes a big difference.
I just know from my perspective, I grew up watching, going to all these high school games from Smith County to Gordonsville to Trousdale County. And, you watch these programs grow, and it starts with the younger programs. And if you can have stability in a program, we're teaching the same concepts. We're teaching the same type of offense and defense. You can take somebody that's not has very maybe limited on their talent, but if they are taught something their entire life and the same concepts and everything, they can be serviceable.
Correct. Yeah. So we're going to transition now. We're going to bring in our Smith County High School head coach, Matt Dyer. So let's go ahead and get him in the lobby with us here. Coach Dyer, welcome to our Dugout Dads Local Sport Podcast. We appreciate you being on with us.
Hey, guys. We're doing all right. Appreciate y'all having me on here.
Thanks so much for jumping on with us, Matt.
Yeah, Matt. So we're going to talk about a little bit of last Friday night's game and the matchup with the Tigers, and go through just a little bit of that, and then we'll transition over into the DeKalb game. But to focus on Friday night just a little bit, I want to just talk to you a little bit about the atmosphere Friday night, and I know you saw it there, had been on the sidelines, just the crowd that was in the stadium. That looks like a larger crowd than I've seen in a few years.
And that's what a lot of people I've talked to over this weekend. They were amazed at the atmosphere, the environment that each team got to play in Friday night that Owl Stadium held. And, I mean, it was an electric atmosphere. It was a great ball game. It was fun to play in front of that many members of our community that was out there to support both teams, both sides, all these kids. And that's what kind of small town football, what it's about, and what's so great about it is that you have such large community support, and it's fun for the teams, it's fun for the players, and like I said, it's fun for the community, and it was awesome to play in front of that crowd, that environment, and it just goes to show what kind of support both of our small communities have on our side of the river and across the river, and it was really fun being a part of that environment and of that atmosphere.
And if you could show me any other atmosphere in Middle Tennessee Friday night that was as good as Smith County High School, I'd be hard pressed to find it. Because like I said, that place was huge. It was packed, and I like I say, I've been a part of this program, and I know Matt, you have too, with your dad, and then you coming on to coach. But I've been a part of going through the program and being involved in these games for 30 plus years. And last Friday night's attendance was amazing. I loved it.
It was awesome to see, and it was awesome to be a part of, just a huge crowd like that and a huge atmosphere like that. It's fun.
So I want to talk about a little things about the stadium. We had a little setback with our playing surface this year, and it come into play. The playing surface looked magnificent Friday night. I got a chance to walk down on it before the game and stepped on it and walked out on it. I was like, man, this is amazing. And me and Jonathan stopped by yesterday afternoon and just looked at the atmosphere, or not the atmosphere, but the surface again, and it looked once again great. So it looked like it held up like it was supposed to.
It did, and it was a thing. It had to be done. It needed to be done eventually. So we went ahead and did it. And Will Larimore with Game Time Field or Game Time Sports Fields, they did a great job of coming in, basically overhauling the field, regrading it, recrowning it, resodding it, all that good stuff. And then Chris Frondon with Advanced Turf Solutions does a great job of helping us out with everything that we need. And then plus our own Smith County Farmers Co-op does a great job of making sure that we have all the equipment that we need to take care of our field. And then, of course, you got Steve Bray and Chris Montgomery and our Smith County Quarterback Club that all do a great job of getting the equipment or getting the materials or the funds that we need to ensure that our program, our players get to play on a nice playing surface. And, it showed the labors of that project showed Friday night where it looked immaculate, to be down for 5-6 weeks, whatever it has been now. I believe July 13th was when the first sod roll was laid, and it held up great. It looks. I just came from there a little while ago. We just got done watering it. It still looks great. It looks tight, looks smooth like carpet, and just walking out there, being able to see it, kind of visualize finally and realize the project that we had going into it, and getting to see the game play out on it. It was nice, and it's going to continue to look better for the rest of the year. And, it's going to look even better for the next few years now that we've got a good foundation laid. And, it's a playing surface that Smith County High School football can be particularly proud of now, just as nice it is.
Yeah, before we transition into some key takeaways from the Gornsville game and then move on to DeKalb, I don't think a lot of people understand what it takes to be a high school football coach, a head coach. We talk about this a lot. There's more than you than just doing X's and O's. You got to worry about boosters. You got to worry about the quarterback club. You got to worry about, sponsorships. You do a lot more behind the scenes than people know. So I just want to give you a little kudos just because of me and you've worked closely together of what you do and what it takes. I don't really think people understand what it takes to be a high school head football coach.
You actually do a lot less coaching is what the crazy thing is. There's days when you're like, man, I just wish I could coach football today. Instead, having to deal with everything else. It's almost like an iceberg. Everything on top is just the X's and O's that everybody sees, and underneath is just everything else. Like you mentioned it, whether it's the fundraising, parents, administration, community, money, uniforms, forms that but once again, that comes into play with having a great coaching staff. And I am very fortunate that I have a great coaching staff with guys like Jason Harville, Cody Jett, John Mark Gammons, Brian Hackett, Brett Hackett, Adam Fulton, Steve Bray, David Reed, and there's a lot of hands that go into it. Not just on that part, but our administration, our athletic director, our teachers in the building, our guidance counselors, and then of course our media, like working with you, Michael, and Connie Holder and Jeremiah Wilkerson, Haley Wilkerson, all these people that, like you said, are working behind the scenes to make sure that we have nice things, that we have support, that we have exposure. It comes from so many people. Our quarterback club working concession stands, or going out on Thursday night to Sam's Club, getting drinks so that we'll have stuff like that. It's such a group effort. And then not even to mention what some of our parents do, just to make sure that, our kids are either at practice or they have the equipment they need that what we don't provide as a team. So, yeah, it's a community effort. It's a village effort. And so many people have their touch or their hand in it to help us become a successful program and to be able to sustain success. And at the same time, have nice things, like we've done with our stadium in the last few years. And as long as I'm here until I get fired or whatever, or run out, I want to continue to make progress in improving our facilities, our stadium, our indoor, our field, everything. So, yeah, I hope I'm around to where I can continue to do that and improve our program and facilities.
Well, I just want to give you kudos because a lot of people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. It's just, I think it's something that needs to be out there more. And people need to know what all you do. And I think you do a great job. And I just want to give you a little kudos there. But swapping gears over to the Friday night's game between Gornsville and you guys, give us some key takeaways of what you saw. I know that it didn't turn out like we wanted. We didn't get the win, but there's some positives that will come out of it, I'm sure. So give us some key takeaways of what you guys are focusing on moving on to the next week.
Well, the biggest thing is we played hard. Our guys played extremely hard for 4 quarters, and that's what we ask them to do each week is just play your hardest, play to the best of your ability, and they did that. They fought for 4 quarters. They had some adversity in the game that they fought back from, whether it was a penalty negating a first down, or it was a turnover on downs early, or giving up a big play early. And then, of course, a big catalyst of that game was the 97-yard touchdown drive that we had that went, that put us in the lead 6-0. We missed the extra point going into the half. But that was huge from a young team, a team like us that's starting so many freshmen and sophomores, or even juniors and seniors who are just inexperienced, where they've not started many football games or played in many football games. And a lot of that inexperience and youth kind of showed Friday night. Gornsville being, where they're a very good team. Gornsville, they have a great coaching staff, Coach Steven Jackson, Adam Shaw, Justin Angel, Bryant Goolsby, Jonathan Bush, all those guys. They do a great job. In 1A, they're always going to make a deep playoff run. And it's because they know how to coach. They know how to develop their guys. And, they were a little more experienced than us, a little bit older than us. And it showed, especially in the trenches along the offensive, defensive line. We got bullied around a little bit. A lot of our younger guys didn't know how to respond initially to that, 17 and 18-year-old kid who's been in the weight room for 3 or 4 years going up against a freshman or sophomore who isn't used to that physicality. And that's just how we're going to have to grow up throughout the season, is that we're going to have to get more aggressive. We're going to have to get more physical. But, at the same time, we did fight. We fought hard, especially when we went down 13-6. We get the fourth down stop there in the fourth quarter, and we put together a pretty good drive, and we get ourselves in a situation to where we could potentially tie the game or win the game with a 2-point conversion. So things like that are positives, especially from a young team that you want to see. Now, ideally, you don't want to, turn the ball over. You don't want to give up a pick six in that situation. But there is a silver lining. There are good things to look at. Biggest thing, I'm proud of our guys. I'm proud of how they fought and, how they went for 4 quarters with an experienced junior, senior-led Gornsville football team.
Yeah.
And like you said, the only thing we can do is we can take the tape, we can take the failures in that game, and we can learn from them, show our guys, improve week to week, day to day, game to game, and that's what we plan on doing. We still have a lot of faith in our guys, and we told them after the game that, yes, it's a rivalry game. It's the first game of the year. You want to win it. But, it doesn't affect our playoff seeding. It doesn't define who we are as a team. It doesn't define our season, because starting tomorrow, we're back to 0-0. And our goal for the week is to go 1-0 each week. So that's where we're at right now. It's behind us. We'll watch the film. We're moving on to DeKalb. And that's where you have to grow as a young team, is learning how to do that. Take last Friday. Don't let your past either failures or past successes impact your future process. And that's where we're at starting tomorrow. So we'll get to work. We'll tell them, we'll fix what we need to fix, and then we'll continue to get better as the year goes on.
So, Matt, talking on that, we know week 1 there's a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that are going to happen on the negative side. So what are you wanting to see from week 1 to week 2 as an improvement? And to piggyback off of that, what have you seen from DeKalb, and what do you expect to see from them?
The biggest thing that we need to improve on, like I mentioned earlier, is just our physicality. We need to get more we need to be more aggressive, and we need to work on our physicality a little bit, and just make sure that we are the more physical football team. In 1A and 2A, a lot of times that's the team that's going to win, is the team that can be more physically dominant for 4 quarters. And we didn't do that Monday night. We made big plays to put ourselves in that situation, but there were at times in that game where Gornsville was more physical than we were. And, that's not our brand of football. We want to be a physical football team that controls the ball and, can be an opportunistic defense. Is what we try to do, what we want to do. So, one thing, that's what we need to work on, is just being more physical, especially along the line of scrimmage, and not as many breakdowns in coverage. And we didn't have that many. We had about 2 breakdowns in coverage. One of them led to a 62-yard gain, and the other one led to the 21-yard touchdown pass. And all that was a great play by Gornsville's guys and a missed play by our guy. We had a chance to intercept that ball and we didn't make a play on it. They did, and they scored. So a couple of breakdowns in our pass coverage, and that will be another thing we need to improve on going into DeKalb, just because Coach Steve Trapp and they do a great job with their program and their passing offense, and they got a really good quarterback and they got some good skill guys. So that's going to be two things we're going to have to win: the physical battle, the physicality battle, the game in the trenches. Make sure that we can control the line of scrimmage, and then just ensure that we are sound on the back end to where we don't give up any big plays. That will be the improvement that we need to see from week 1 to week 2. And then offensively, the improvement we need to see is just communication among our offensive line. Making sure that we know when to come off of a double team or a combo. Make sure that we see a linebacker who is, showing blitz, or a linebacker that shoots a backside gap. So that offensively, that is what we need to improve on going from week 1 to week 2, is just the communication among our offensive line, and then on defense, just in our back end, and be more physical.
Yeah, and what are you looking at that DeKalb's going to bring in? Because I went to the DeKalb game last week. Last year. Sorry, it was a 4-quarter game, right? You guys played each other back and forth for 4 quarters. What does DeKalb bring over? Like, I know you talked about their pass game a little bit, but as far as their athletes, what do they return? What do you expect to see from those guys?
Well, their quarterback is a guy that makes them go. Like most teams around this area, their quarterback is one of their better athletes. They do have some skill guys on the perimeter. They've got they got 2 receivers that are really good players, and they've got a running back who's not bad as well. But everything goes through their quarterback. Offensively, they're going to run him. He's a very athletic kid, so they'll have designed runs. They'll have read runs. But he can also make plays off script, off schedule with his legs, scrambling. So we're going to have to do a good job of containing their quarterback run game and not letting him break the pocket to extend plays or drives with his legs. And then defensively, they've got a set of linebackers that are very active. They run to the football. So we just got to make sure that we get those guys blocked. We got to make sure that we get a hat on those guys, not let them come off combos or double teams. But that's where their strong suits are. Their linebackers on defense, and then on offense, their quarterback, and they've got a couple of skill guys on the perimeter that can create big plays.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to it. Once again, it's another home game for the Owls over here in Owl Stadium. We want a big crowd, right? We want the same crowd, the same atmosphere we have for the Gornsville game. We want that every home game for you guys. So, hopefully they'll come across and they'll bring a crowd, and we'll bring a crowd, and it'll be, once again, a hard-nosed football game here.
Shoot, yeah. And the last few years, DeKalb has traveled very well to our place. And like I said, I hope it's, once again, just a great environment, great experience for players, coaches, both sides. Hope we get to see a lot of fireworks. Hope the Jumbotron's going. Hope the music is going. And, both concession stands are wide open. And, you don't want the lines to be too long, but, with long lines, it means you're selling stuff.
That's right.
So, I just hope everybody has a great time. They enjoy themselves. And like I said, it's all about being a positive, fun experience for high school football players, that when years down the road, they can look back and say, man, you remember that night in our junior, senior year, we played DeKalb, and, it was just loud. Train horn was going, fireworks were firing, and it was a 4-quarter ball game. It was a battle. That's what high school football should be about, is about. And it's just creating memories, experiences, and just an awesome environment for players, community, and everybody.
Well, Matt, we know that you'll have the Owls ready to go this for coming Friday night, and look forward to going 1-0 this week. So appreciate you coming on with us and jumping on, and look forward to this segment moving forward.
Yes, sir.
Hi, guys. I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all giving the exposure to everybody, our teams and programs like this. I appreciate what y'all do, and it's awesome, man. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Coach Dyer. We appreciate it.
Hey, guys. See y'all. Y'all have a good one.
You too.
Everybody.
And that was head football coach Matt Dyer for the Smith County Owls. We appreciate him coming on and, giving the insight to what's coming up for Smith County. And, like Jonathan, like you just said, we hope to have Matt on a weekly segment now. Every Sunday night he'll come on and give his insights and preview the next week's matchup.
Yes, and we're really you and I both are really enjoying this. I mean, this is only our second one, but man, I'm so excited. Like I'm ready to run through a wall right now. But it's just very exciting for me to get to do this, and hopefully we'll get some weekly guests. And guys, if we're going to have some sponsorship opportunities coming up. If you would like to sponsor a segment, just get with Michael or myself. And I've already had a couple people reach out to me. So if you or your business would like to be a sponsor on our show, just let us know. And, just moving on to this week's games, this upcoming games this week, we've got Upperman at Lebanon. We've got DeKalb, of course, at Smith County. Macon County travels to Trousdale County, Macon at Trousdale, which is always a big game. Clay County at Westmoreland. And Gornsville, of course, as we've talked about, travels to Watertown. So got some good matchups this week in week 2. And, of course, college football starts for good this coming week.
Yeah, and you guys, if you keep joining us every week, you'll see we'll build on our podcast every week, and we're going to incorporate some UT football in here, right? Because me and Jonathan are both, huge UT football fans, and we can't wait for this Saturday to start UT football. That's something we look forward to every year, and we're going to try to have a segment about college sports as well. It's something that we talked about last week, that we're going to keep integrating more and more folks within our community sports here. We want to highlight everybody from the golf team to the soccer team, to volleyball, to basketball, to baseball. We're going to have weekly guests that promote their programs, something that me and Jonathan has really talked about. And we look forward to all these folks coming on and joining our podcast.
Yes, 100%. And there's so much young talent in our county and in our surrounding area that we want to promote. And, maybe there's some people out there that don't know that Smith County has a golf team, or, that there's opportunities out there for other areas of growth. So we want to highlight that, and we want to get as much excitement as we have to you guys.
Yeah, and we look forward to next week. We already got our show planned out. We already get our guests lined up. Jonathan, if you want to go through our guests, who our guests will be next week, we'll go ahead and give you guys a preview of who we're going to have on next week with us. Next
week, we're gonna have Coach Matt Dyer back on. We're gonna have Coach Steven Jackson from Gornsville back on, and they're gonna cover both of the games at DeKalb and Watertown. And then we're also gonna have Josh Gibbs on to talk about the youth football program in Smith County.
Yeah, and I just don't think, we talked about this to get Josh on and talk about our youth program, because that's where it starts, right? You start your love for sports in youth, and we want that. We want Josh to come on and highlight those guys and talk about it. So it's great. It's a great thing. Now, a couple shout outs that we got to give out for this week. One to Christy Preston, who made our Dugout Dads swag, our shirts here. We appreciate her. It got them quick to us. I mean, within a week she had them and we got them. We love them. We love giving out. We're going to give out some merch. To Ethan Jenkins, who made my hat and got Jonathan one too. I called him last night and said, Ethan, hey, can you make me a couple of hats for our podcast? And he jumped right on it. So we got to, appreciate him as well. And then also to Shay Hale and Terry Collins. We can't do what we do without those guys. They give us the stats every week. When we're talking stats, those come from the Carthage Courier and Shay Hale and Terry Collins.
Yes, and that's they're very vital to what we do, because we don't do the stats like they do. So,
and like I say, once again, episode 2 is in the books. We appreciate it. We love what we're doing. We hope you guys enjoy it. We're going to do this every week. We're going to keep, trying to build on our podcast and give you guys more and more information about all the local sports in the community. We're going to have some outline coaches come in, that have ties to Smith County, whether it be Gornsville or Smith County High School. We're going to have those guys come in and talk about their programs. We're really looking forward to what we're doing here, Jonathan. And I'm so excited. Like you said earlier, it's just something to be excited about.
Yes, 100%.
So for the Dugout Dads Local Sports Podcast, where our skills are questionable,
but our spirit is unstoppable.
Until next time.